Deva,
demigods.
demigod,
demigods,
Bhavayantu,
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 will please.
will
will
please,
please,
Yaha, sorry,
Yaha,
Yaha,
va,
Ma,
you.
you,
you,
Parasparam,
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 mutual.
mutually,
mutually,
Bhavayantaha,
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 pleasing one another.
pleasing
pleasing
one
one
another,
another,
Shreyaha,
Shreya,
Shreyaha,
benediction.
benedict,
benediction,
Param,
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 the supreme.
the
the
supreme,
supreme,
Avapsyata,
Abhapsyata,
Avashpita,
you will achieve.
you
we
will
will
achieve.
achieve.
Yeah. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Purport. The demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. Their supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yajnas by the human being. Some of the yajnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in all yajnas as the chief beneficiary. It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of yajnas. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the Yajnapati is the chief purpose of all yajnas. When these yajnas are perfectly performed, naturally the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Performance of yajnas has many side benefits, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. By performance of yajnas, all activities become purified. As it is stated in the Vedas, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhihi, Sattva Shuddhau Dhruva Smrutihi, Smriti Lambe Sarva Grantinam Vipramokshaha. By performance of yajna, one's eatables become sanctified. And by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society. Okay, translation once again. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So we are at 311. So third chapter, 11th verse. So let's see the previous flow, how it went, like, from the sixth previous few verses we have seen, like, from 3 to, I think, 3 to 8. So these verses explains about the Nishkam Karma Yoga, like, one should how to act, how to work. So in second chapter, Krishna says one can't stay without action, without doing anything. But how can we how can we so how can we get out of this repeated birth of cycle and death, birth and death, um, with like, with doing actions. So as we are inevitable, we need to act for existence. So Krishna spoke about Nishkam Karma Yoga. Nishkama karma means, like, without expecting anything. So no expectation, and not keeping them in the center. And now after that one, ninth verse, Krishna says about the science of art of action. So how can we do the action, but same action, how can we use that one to get out of this material world? So that is the kind of a first word in the Bhagavad Gita, which says do activities still, but still get free from bondage. So that verse is Yajnatat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So it says work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. So it says that one, do the work but for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So doing like it says that one, like I heard in a class, like devotee says, when the devotees goes to the Dham Yatras, what will happen in Vrindavan Dham or somewhere, when they go in barefoot, like due to some areas in temples or something, if they get like any thorns like struck into the like a sole of the feet, so they use some like safety pin or something to remove the thorn. Like sometimes like they use like another thorn to remove the thorn. It means that how the same action is creates the bondage in this material world. But if we learn the science of art of action, like how to act, the art of action, then what will happen, the same action, it will become a media to attain the Supreme Lord and to get rid of this material existence. So that's where that's how the verse it says, like do activity but still get free from the bondage. So that means that there it describes work performed for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Then yesterday's verse also we heard about like how here Prajapati, normally it's Brahma, and Mataji explained how here it says Vishnu is the Prajapati here. So even though now in this verse, like again Prabhupada quoted a verse there, Sankirtana Yajna from Bhagavatam, it says Krishna Varnam Thusha Krishnam. That verse comes there, Sangopangasta Parshadam Yajnaya Sankirtanai Praya Rejantihi Sumedasaham. So that was quoted in the previous verse. Now again the continuation of that one is Krishna is speaking here. So now 9th verse he said, do as a sacrifice, that is Yajna. And next verse Krishna said, who is the supreme enjoyer, Prajapati or Yajnapati. Then now he's saying how to perform the yajnas, like so first is Krishna is saying through yajnas you can attain liberation, doing your work as an yajna, as a sacrifice towards to Vishnu. Then continuation, it goes on now onwards, like what is a yajna, how to perform, and what we will get by performing the yajnas, and how the yajnas are related to our daily life in this material world, like that. So in that relation, like Krishna is saying in this verse, Devan Bhavayatanena. Devan means devtas, like the demigods. So Bhavayatanena. So they get pleased by this sacrifice. What, like Krishna is speaking, though that sacrifice one has to perform to the demigods. So te deva bhavayantu va. They, like we need to perform sacrifice so that demigods will get pleased. And then parasparam bhavayantaha. Parasparam means mutual. Bhavayantaha, pleasing one another. So like the people on the earth, like they perform the yajna, means the devatas will get like satisfied, and when they satisfy, they gives back the other rains and whatever necessities is required for the material existence on this naturally what and all needed, they gives that one for us. So it's kind of mutual exchanging each other, mutual pleasing each other. Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya param avapsyatha. So Shreya is benediction. It's a kind of a long-term benediction, like Shreya, Preya, both are there. Preya means short-term goals or short-term kind of benedictions, but Shreya is long-term benedictions. Shreya param avapsyatha. One will achieve the supreme, like long-term benedictions by cooperating with the devatas. So let's see the purport, like how Prabhupada goes here. So here it's saying like So that Nishkama Karma Yoga Krishna spoke. After that, when it comes like, what is Nishkam Karma is detachment and offer the results to the Lord and with Yajna. That's what it says. So when we offer the when we perform the Yajna and offer the results to the Lord, what will happen is like, it slowly becomes like, when we perform the Yajna and give up the results to the Krishna. So the Yajnapati is described in the previous verse as Vishnu. And in 5.29, Krishna says like a Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam. So he is the Bhokta, he is the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. Yajna tapasam. Tapasam means austerities also. So he is the supreme enjoyer. He is called as Yajnapati. And so he is the one who will get like a beneficiary. If you give the sacrifice, if you perform the work as sacrifice, that sacrifice results goes to Krishna, and for his pleasure we work here. So that slowly leads us to the bhakti yoga when we do this kind of yajnas. So how it is leads us to, so first we hear about these and we practice it. That practice turns to service, and that service turns to pure devotional service, like that. So like, some people may not be like, Nishkam Karma Yoga, saying some people like how it here devatas are coming means. So if people are different types, Krishna is so practical and intelligent, so he gives the opportunities to all the living entities. Like as the father gives, like, father has a few like, 2 3 children, and all children are not on equal level. So but still father gives the opportunities to equally to all the children. So in the same way, Krishna also considers the different levels of his children. So some people may not be Nishkam Karma Yoga level or Nishkam kind of work doing. So for them, like what Krishna is doing here is, Krishna is expecting like, do the karma kanda and slowly move to the karma yoga. So karma kanda is expecting of results, so we fruits. But according to the scriptures, like it says, they work, who are in karma kanda, so they work, but according to the scriptures they work, but they expect the results. So like kind of if anybody want like a good wife or something, they worship like a Shiva, Parvati, Uma Maheshwar, Shiva. Or if anybody want like, good health, they worship sun god. So all these yajnas are prescribed in the Vedas, but those are temporary results. Like, if we expect anything which is related to this body, definitely it leads to the temporary results and temporary goals, and it's kind of Preya kind of thing, not Shreya. So that's why here it says the Vedas are described like, all the different sections are there in the Vedas, but majority of the Vedas are describing karma kanda. So people go for the material benefits and perform the austerities which are described in the Vedas, and they expect the fruits. But here in this verse the term of devatas comes here. So why devatas are coming here is, like this whole universe wherever we are living is, we are not just living in a universe, but we are living under the universal government, and that is designed by Krishna. And he is a supreme like, a supreme lord, and he has like, as the Prabhupada gives an analogy of a king. So king has a lot of departments in his ruling method. So he has treasury, he has the soldiers, and he has some other things like, spying department or taking care of the citizens in the city. So different departments are there, and each department has the persons like a ministers who is going to take care of that particular department. So like that, the demigods are empowered administrators. So they are not normal people, they are empowered administrators of material affairs. So Krishna has a lot of departments to move sustenance of this universe. So those departments are like different, like, we are getting like naturally the air, light, water, and everything. But how we are living in this practical material world, government, like, government gives the water, and we use the water, and we pay water bill back to the government. So in the same way, like how we are exchanging like with the government, present ruling government, so we have universal utilities like, how the sun is giving heat, light, air, water. So we should not think them as they are coming naturally, and we should not take them as a granted, because there are the there is a system behind that one. So to get like, all these natural things what are available in this nature, but there are behind that one, there is a procedure, and there are the persons and who are ordered by the Supreme Lord, and they are working on that one. So those are called as the devatas. Those were they though those devatas work under the will of the Krishna. So that's where this air, light, water, and all these benedictions, like maintaining this so it comes naturally in the nature, but we should not take them granted. So there is an intelligence behind that one. And so the people, whoever takes them granted, it means like, how there is an analogy, like, if child asks something and we give the toy, and if the child keep on asking, like whatever toy the child sees, like, I want that, I want that, I want that, like some stage we will explain it's not very easy, like, it won't come, like if I desire I will get it. So that is a childish mentality, like, I see, I want, I got it. So if we keep giving to them, that kind of mentality goes in her child, like, taking as a granted. So one certain age of the level, we explain to the child, like, it's not like, simply you are desiring and it's coming. It's like, parent, father or mother are working hard to get the money, and after that, when we need to spend money, we are giving money to the shopkeeper. That's why he is giving toy, like that we educate the child, right? So in the same way, we should not keep our intelligence as a childish mentality, like, naturally all this coming and we are using, like that. No, we need to raise our intelligence to think that one who is supplying all this the nature. So that's where the intelligence, if anybody takes all these things as a, like Krishna says, rasoham apsu kaunteya, I am the taste of the water. So even Prabhupada says, whenever you drink water, you can think like, no, Krishna is giving this water to me, like that. So it's like a just consciousness, but we should not take them as a granted. So whoever takes them as a granted, it means that their intelligence is not developed yet. They are at the kind of a childish level of the intelligence. Okay, oh, it's there, so they don't think about it. Oh, it's there, sun is coming every day, okay, it's there, like that. But we need to raise our intelligence to think who has given all these things, like that. So that's what it says. uh, so as long as our consciousness is in childish state, we take them things grantedly. So that's why we need to harmonize, like, with the by the government, how we can go. We pay taxes for everything, like, for cars, insurance, and whatever we do, like we pay. So it's a mutual kind of thing, like, if we don't pay any taxes, or if you don't do anything, definitely we will get bills for the, like, alerts from the government. So it's kind of mutual understanding. Government is cooperating and we are paying taxes and bills, every utilities and everything. So in the same way, demigods are the one who are providing all these natural things for us. So we need to harmonize with them. That's what it says here, parasparam bhavayantaha. So pleasing each other, it makes us to achieve supreme benediction. So how the harmonizing with the government we can do that one, we need to cooperate with the demigods also. So whatever gifts we have in this nature, so there are the higher beings, like, demigods, empowered administrators. So they are with, it's their gifts. So in Kali Yuga, like what kind of like sacrifices or yajnas we can do here, Krishna says that yajna is meant for to satisfy particular demigods. So they get the kind of, like, when whatever yajnas we do, and they get the strength from that yajnas. So clearly it says their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on performance of yajna by the human being. So even demigods has at their level, they are like, above the normal human beings. They have different powers, but still they have the material desires, or some kind of desires they have. And with that pleasures and displeasures, it depends on the ignorance by the human being. So that's the way, like Prabhupada says, demigods are dependent on the human beings, yajnas, like yajnas done by human beings. So the performance of yajna, what will happen by performing the yajna? So like by performing the yajna, what will happen is, here in the last paragraph of Prabhupada clearly explains there are a lot of side benefits. And first one thing is, which ultimately lead us by performing the yajna, get free from this material bondage. So in whichever way, like we do yajnas, we get free from this material bondage. And by performance yajna, it purifies us. It makes all our activities become purified, whatever we do in that yajna. And in the Vedas, it says, Prabhupada quoted the verse, Ahara Shuddha. Ahara means food. If food is sanctified, what will happen? Then Sattva Shuddhihi. Sattva Shuddhihi means by eating that kind of sanctified food stuff, then our existence will become purified. So Sattva Shuddhihi. So then Sattva Shuddha, if by the purification of the existence, what will happen? Dhruva Smritihi. So the final tissues in our memory will become like sanctified. So when memory is sanctified, one can think path of liberation. So and at last, all these things leads to the liberation. So that's what it says, all these activities. So the Prabhupada writes in one of the purport, all the actions whatever humans perform, those actions should lead them for the purification. That is the main goal of our actions as a human beings. So our actions should lead us towards to the purification. And then by that purification only everything starts. So that's what all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness. So here the first step is Ahara Shuddha. So Ahara Shuddha is nothing but honoring the Prasadam, like, accepting only the Prasadam offered to the Krishna. So in that way, that is also an yajna. So offering food and honoring only the prasadam offered to Krishna. So that makes like once eatable becomes sanctified. That's where the root cause, because without food, any human being can't able to sustain. So when we sanctified that which is the cause of our existence is food. When we sanctified that thing, definitely everything follows. That's why like the consciousness how we are preparing the food, how we are offering the food is very, very important. So that goes through the food to us, and that food is the root, like, for our purificatory process. So yeah, we so far like we heard about the yajna and how it is linked to the devatas and everything, right? So now coming to the Kali Yuga, how can we perform this yajna? So yajna means there are the lot of rules, like whatever yajna we speak, we have seen in the scriptures, like as there are 4 yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. So in Satya Yuga, they used to live long time, so that they used to do meditations and sitting long term and long time and living like, I think 100,000 years they used to live. Then next, Dwapara Yuga, sorry, Treta Yuga comes. In Treta Yuga, so each Yuga has a prescribed duty. So Satya Yuga meditation was the prescribed duty. It means that the people whoever are there in Satya Yuga, it's naturally they incline to do the devotional activities through the meditation, and they try to please Supreme Lord by meditating on the Supreme Lord's pastimes and activities. So, and coming to the Dwapara Yuga, it comes like, the lifespan reduced to 10,000 years, and they start the prescribed duty for the Treta Yuga is performing the yajnas. So people used to do a lot of yajnas, and naturally the process for that yuga is to please the Supreme Lord, means they perform the yajnas. So to please the Supreme Lord, they used to connect to the Supreme Lord through the yajnas. And in Dwapara Yuga means, so there the lifespan reduced to 1,000 years, and the people used to perform all the get connect to the Supreme Lord through the temple worship, GT worship. Okay, and now in Kali Yuga, so we in Kali Yuga, Kalau Shudraha, so everybody is Shudras in Kali, and no personality, no human being has the like, pureness in the chanting of the Vedic hymns. And to perform the yajna, we need few things, right? So normally in yajna, we see the yajna pit, and we see the ladle, like, spoon or something. Then when we do mantras chanting, one personality is required, and one authority is required taking the responsibility of the yajna whole, and one brahmana who is chanting continuously the Vedic hymns, and one brahmana, one person who is going to pour the ghee into the yajna kund, and then other persons, like, who is arranging the yajna. So definitely there are like rules and regulations in the yajna performing. So now coming to this Kali Yuga, so how feasible it is like to perform the yajna like this. So here Krishna describes work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu. So then work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu means we can offer our action as a sacrifice to Vishnu. So now connecting to this like prescribed duty for this Kali Yuga is Sankirtana Yajna, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. But that yajna, how it is going to connect to our like Krishna consciousness practically is, so as I described the yajna, what and all necessaries for the yajna. So consider our practices like regular practice of chanting as a yajna. So that's what like, prescribed duty for Kali Yuga is Sankirtan Yajna. So in Sankirtan Yajna, it may be Nagar Sankirtan or it may be like whatever daily sadhana rounds also. So chanting is the prescribed duty for this Kali Yuga. So consider this chanting is like a yajna. So now we'll see how it is yajna. So the participants who are like, willing to chant, those are the priests, like priests in the yajna. And the yajna pit is like, ears. So we'll pour when we do normal yajna, we pour all the mantras and everything goes into the yajna kund, the pit, whatever we use for the yajna, that is the main thing in the yajna. Everything goes to there. Even the power of the chanting of the mantras, the ghee, whatever it's there. So the whole benefit comes from the yajna pit to Devika, to Devatas. So in the same way, in our chanting, the yajna pit is our ears. So then the ladle is our tongue. So ladle means like normally in a normal yajna, we take the ghee with the ladle, but here what is the ladle is tongue. And what we are pouring into the yajna pit is normally ghee we pour, right? But in Sankirtan Yajna, what we pour is the ghee of pure ghee of the holy name. So the yajna pit is ears, spoon is the tongue, and we are pouring into the yajna kund is with the ladle is with the tongue is holy name of the Lord. And what will happen by doing this yajna? So chanting the mantra, pouring into the holy name into the yajna pit, that is the ear. So by doing this, we will ignite the fire of bhakti in our hearts. So which depends on how much we take shelter of the holy name. So it ignites. Normally when in the yajna, when you pour the ghee, it ignites the fire like much stronger and rise up, right? So swaha we will do like Krishnaya idam namama swaha, like that they offer every chant of the glorification of the mantra. They chant that one Indraya, like Krishna or sun god, and whatever it's there, end of the mantra, whatever they chant, they chant the name to whom that mantra power is going to happen. Like, so in the same way, when we do the yajna, what will happen, Sankirtan yajna, when we pour the ghee of holy name from the tongue to the ears, that ears is the yajna pit, and from that one, through the pouring of that one continuously, how sincerity. So here the ghee is like, which naturally it ignites the fire. So here what is our like, which ignites the fire is our sincere and our dedication. Our sincere, helpless calling of Krishna's names, that sincerity level and that helplessness increases the rise of the fire in the yajna pit. That is nothing but in our heart, how much the fire like ignites, it depends on our level of like, helplessness, how completely we convinced and how we are calling helplessly the names of Krishna. So that's how the yajna is, the daily chanting what we do is connected to this yajna. So what will happen by this one? So sacrifice means we need to give up something, right? So what the priest as kind of participant is giving up by performing this yajna is, so he the priest sitting there and chants mantras, like we do the chanting. So in order to invoke the presence of the Lord in their heart, so that's where the priest is giving up his time, his energy, and his full attention to their intention, like, the priest, the participant is giving his time, energy, and helplessness, like sincerity. All these are the offerings into the Lord, for the Lord. So when devotees do this kind of chanting with full attention, by thinking he is pouring his heart, his sense, his helplessness, sincerity, determination, whatever you call, like motivation, inspiration to please the Krishna, so that becomes as a ghee pouring into the fire. So sometimes what happened, we chant, but we ignite the fire, but in our routine life we get some kind of desires, right? So of course we offer to Krishna that one, but we get some kind of material benefits, means that material benefits is are like a pouring water into the fire. Like we so if we ignite like a lot of fire with the chanting of anything, but in our routine life if we get any material desire for the sense gratification or for our own enjoyment, what will happen, that pours the water into that ignited fire. What will happen? Then the whole fire goes off. So igniting fire and again pouring water. So that's why we need to get rid of all these material designations and get rid of all these upadhis. That's the thing. When we get rid of that one, then the fire stays as it is. So that's why it says Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatattvena Nirmalam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So what will happen? By doing, igniting that fire, Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam, our sense, by serving the Hrishikesha, who is the master of the senses, our sense will get purified. So in that way, what will happen? We perform the proper yajna. So normally when we do like outer yajnas, other than Sankirtan or whatever, literally like physical yajna, we don't pour water on that one. So if one Brahmana is pouring ghee into that one and another Brahmana gets one glass of water and pour. No, we don't do that one. So it looks like what are you doing, like that we scold. But we practically in our consciousness, in our spiritual sadhana, we pour water. So it depends on, like, I'm talking about me, like, generally telling. So we need to until unless we get rid of this material upadhis, we can't keep that ignited fire in us like continuously. So that's why Krishna also, it says in 10:25, Yajnanam japa yajñosmi, I am the japa in the yajnas, Krishna says. So that's why, like, we one should not give up three things in their lives. One is yajna, dana, tapa. So these three things, activities, which makes our activities a purification. So these are the ways or gateways to get our activities purified. So one should not abandon or give up these three things anyway in their lives. That is yajna, dana, tapa. By these activities, tapa means austerities. So in Krishna consciousness, we do austerities in way for the pleasure of Krishna, that is Ekadashi fasting, and we do chanting, and we do Nirjal fastings, and we do fastings for the festivals. These are the austerities. And dana. So dana means, like, as it says, we can donate to the Krishna temples, or we can donate like a dressing for the Krishna, or whatever it's there, how much we have, or we can do even charity in such a way that when in physical way, like service doing the temple, and that is also like, then yajna is, I said, like chanting is an yajna. So that's how like Krishna consciousness have three things which goes simultaneously always in the devotee's life. So that's why all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness. So in Krishna consciousness, we are doing all these things, yajna, dana, tapa. And dana, in one way, you can say like loving exchanges, as Rupa Goswami says in Dicta of Instructions, dadati pratigruhnati also. So giving and taking is also dana, like charity. So that's why all three comes in our, like, practical Krishna consciousness, like, whatever we practice, this yajna is there in that one also. So in that way, how much time we give to Krishna, so that much time Krishna is also reciprocating with us. So the chanting is not a, like, normal thing, but it's normally we think like Sankirtan yajna is kirtans and normal like, Nagar Sankirtan, like that. But even chanting is the basic thing which we connect directly to the Lord. That's why all these exalted souls, like, they give chanting meditations. And I heard one meditation saying that one chant from the heart. So how can we, I don't know, like chant from the heart? Normally we chant and hear. So, but chant from the heart means what we need to do. So then I was researching about that one. Chant from the heart means completely dependent on Krishna. Chant from the heart. There is like, the surrendering, like always, Pari Prabhu says that 6 steps for surrendering. So the conviction that Krishna is my only protector. So when we chant in such a way, like, Prabhupada also says, like chant in such a way that one, as the child cries for the mother. So helpless, nobody, child knows only my mother can take me. So if child get hurt and child is crying, so then what happens? Like even others, family members, even like ultimately the father goes also, sometimes the child won't listen sometimes. So definitely mother needed. So how the child helplessly cries, like, I want only that one, I want only Amma, like that. So when we chant that way, that becomes like, chanting from the heart. So when we desperately dependent on Krishna, you are the one only my protector, ultimate protector. So when we increase that kind of thing, then chanting will become like calling a god helplessly. That makes us to get connect more towards to Krishna. So the more we hear, the more we perform the yajna in such a way, how we pour ghee into the yajna. So we need to pour our understandings, our motivations, and our dependency completely toward on Krishna. So today only I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam Parpat 1, Parpat Prabhupada said, so in material world, depending like, or asking mercy and completely depending on someone and living on complete mercy of others, it looks like a very misfortune. It's like a very unfortunate stage. So we don't even agree, I'm completely dependent on you only, because of you I'm living. It's very rare, and it's very, we feel like it's a very low or misfortune, unfortunate stage. But in spirituality, when we do that thing completely depending on Krishna, and that by like, mercy word we use in spiritual way, like, with Krishna's mercy I'm fine, like that, completely depending on mercy of Krishna is the, that level is the most fortunate thing in spiritual life. So the way how we completely dependent on Krishna, that is one kind of surrender. So that's what this verse I have. And one more thing, I want to say 2 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam related to this verse. It says the Yajna Purusha is Krishna, that is Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, right? So, but these demigods are also providing all these things. Then worshipping the demigods, like, how it is like, it's related to that one. So parasparam bhavayantaha means it's not like a worshipping and pleasing, keeping demigods in the center, but we need to be in a consciousness from whom they are getting the power. So Krishna is the one, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, who is the supreme enjoyer of the sacrifices. So even though demigods are providing all these necessities, but they are working under the Krishna's will. So then how the devotees are like, parasparam bhavayantaha with the demigods means, so there are 2 verses which says, so here one verse is 431:14. It says, Yatataror mula nisheshanena trupyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopahara chaitendriyanam tataiva sarvarahanam achyutejya. So this verse says that one, whoever worships the Achyuta, Ejja means worship. So whoever worship the Achyuta is infallible, that is Krishna. So how they are worshipping is pouring the water to the root. So when someone says go and pour water to the tree, means we don't pour to the tree, we do the water to the tree, to the roots place. So that is the intelligent person, like normally do. If anybody want to pour water to the flowers or fruits or leaves or twigs, means the tree won't survive. So that strength whole tree gets from the roots. So in the same way, when one worships the Achyuta, who is the supreme Lord, who under whose instructions all this universe is existing, that means that our tree is like, you are doing right thing. It means that you are pouring water to the root, so that all other twigs, all other branches will get nourished by pouring the water to the tree. In the same way, pouring water to the roots. So in the same way, by supplying food to the stomach, all the limbs of the body will get nourished. Pranopaharaja. So if we feed stomach, then hand, legs, everything will get strength. We do actions. So in the same way, when we worship Achyuta, every other, see here it says, Prabhupada very clearly in translation, yeah, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. So this is the parasparam between the devotees in Krishna consciousness and to the demigods. It's not like we need to perform special something to please the demigods. No, if we worship the Krishna, automatically it satisfies the demigods who are the parts of the Supreme Lord. I think these parts are mentioned here also in this purport, like Prabhupada says. Yeah, here it says, who are innumerable assistants and different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whoever worships Achyuta, demigods will get satisfied automatically. So this is one way of Parasparam. And one more verse is like here it says, by birth we are obligated to some things, like, you know, the place, like, you know, where the ruling system and the parents and the king who are, that is the ruling system, and the parents and the sages who gave the knowledge, and the demi, all this or we are obliged, like, you know, we are using the scriptures without, like, you know, anything, like, no, all these obligations are there when the soul takes a birth on this material world. But here it says the words like devarshi bhutapta nrunam pitrunam na kinkaro nayam runicha rajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihrutya kartam. So it says, this is the word like gato mukundam parihrutya kartam. So this is the important thing. Like here also it says, Sukadeva Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj, like, you know, O king, one who has give up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. What will happen? Who offers shelter to all is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. So these are the references which says, if we take shelter of Mukunda, or if you worship the Achyuta, then all will get satisfied. So here it says like indebted to the demigods also. Why demigods here? Indebted to the demigods means demigods are giving, like we are taking light, heat from the sun, and we are taking water, and we are taking air freely. All these are indebted, like we are simply using. But when we worship Krishna, they'll get satisfied. That's what here it's saying. So this is a one more parasparam. So how much we go closer to Krishna, then demigods also, by worshipping Krishna, demigods will get satisfied. So this is the one more parasparam, how Krishna consciousness devotees get satisfied the demigods. So this is the what I have for this verse. So mainly stress point is the yajna which we perform for this Kali Yuga is Sankirtan yajna, and how the chanting is as a literally yajna, how we are going to perform in this Kali Yuga, and that is the important. And yajna Purusha is the Supreme Lord, and satisfying by worshipping Krishna and by taking shelter of the Krishna. The devotee is not obligated to any other normal, like by birth naturally it happens, it's get free of that obligations, and by worshipping Krishna, automatically the parts and parcels of the demigods will get satisfied. So this is the essence of these words. So I'll stop here. If anybody have any comments or questions or corrections, please feel free to add. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, nice class. I have one question, because now, we find all these earthquakes and hurricanes and all these natural disasters on the rise, the global warming. Does that mean that the demigods are displeased? Why is all that happening? I know Kali Yuga is progressing and all that other stuff, but why particularly in certain periods you have such violent natural disasters?
Yeah, yes, Mataji. So that is one of the threefold miseries of the material nature. So Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Adhyatmik, right? So these natural calamities comes under the Adi Daivik. So sometimes these natural calamities, see, there is a, that's why it's a third chapter we are discussing about the karma. So karma is like an action, such kind of sensitive parties. Whatever we do action, the the reaction comes to us. So in such a way that one, like, not every living entity is consciousness of Krishna and thinking that one to follow all these Bhagavad Gita scriptures, everything. So everybody has does their activities, so the reaction also comes back. So if anything, group all together, like if any reactions are there, definitely it comes in the form of a natural calamities. So these natural calamities are like, it depends on, like, there are a lot of factors comes in that one. The people who got hurted and who gone through all these things, it depends on, so it has a lot of factors, Mataji. They may have like a lot of previous karma, or we may consider the reaction of their karmas are coming or like that. But in case of devotees also, sometimes it happens, means Krishna do the best for the devotees. Maybe like some kind of thing is there. So that's why, the devotee, whenever like he surrenders to Krishna, he takes Krishna consciousness, he his actions, whatever the reactions he's supposed to get, it goes according to the Krishna's will, not like a kind of rules and regulations of reactions and karma rules and everything. It won't go. So that is the thing, like, in this present situation, how temporary the life is. So we need to take our spiritual life very, very serious. So very, very serious, because that is the only thing which comes. I think today Ganpati Prabhu forward a video, like one person died in with the corona, and he said, like, asked his friend to distribute all his money in the open air in the road. So it means that he want to tell, like, nothing is going to help in for their life. So that's where it stands. Our life situation is at this present material life, and outside situations are in with the unpredicted situation of that corona. So I was thinking, like, the Pankajagiri Prabhu is going through all these things. So I was thinking about the Narshinga. So you killed Hiranyakashipu, who is huge and who terrified the demigods. But this corona for you is this much, right? So he if Narshingadev even thinks also, it goes, not even come or do anything. So that's why now Prabhuji is a devotee. He is going through all these things. Means, so Krishna has some plans, but we need to take it in that way, and at the same time we need to pray for the devotees also. So that's I can say, but lot of factors are there behind that thing what we are going through. But that it's not kind of demigods are angry or something, but lot of things maybe happen, Mataji, because I can't say one reason behind that natural calamities.
All right, Mataji, thank you. Nice explanation.
Yeah, if anybody have any comments on this question, please feel free to add in for the Mataji's question. Okay, I think nobody have. If anybody have any other questions or comments. Mataji, you are the best person to answer. If you have any realizations on your question, please feel to answer, to share, Mataji.
No, Mataji, you did a good job. Yes, it is all Krishna's, collective karma is there, with everybody. It's not only devotees are living in this world, there's everybody, there's a general population. And sometimes people who are special devotees, the Lord takes care of them in different ways, like like if something happens to, like, for example, Bhakti Charu Maharaj left his body, but a lot of people were saying Krishnanandini Mataji was also Prabhupada disciple and suffering from cancer. She had this realization that Maharaj was talking about what Prabhupada was saying at the time of leaving, and about death and all that. He was giving lectures particularly. So she almost had the realization that Maharaj knew he was leaving. there was a realization that Prabhupada was calling him. So in spite of Corona, he traveled from India and he was alone in the hospital. But those kind of devotees don't need people chanting around them. Krishna is there for them. They're special. They're in a special category. So like you said, for Pankajangri Prabhu, he has worshipped Narsinghadev. He's a Naishtika Brahmachari. From his teenage years, he has worshipped Lord Narsinghadev. So he's in a very special position. So whatever happens, whether he stays behind to continue Prabhupada's movement or if he leaves, either way it is auspicious for him and for everybody else. It's more like a leela and a pastime that's playing out. So we can't compare those Mahabhagavad devotees to ordinary people. And like you said, even when there is a natural disaster like floods or something, some people are saved and then other people drown. So whoever is in that particular position, according to their karmic effects and whether their consciousness, a lot of times, I think once during the Texas, there was something and there was a temple that was completely, but the truck was going on the road and nobody was allowed to go, but this particular truck was able to go and get the supplies to the devotees. Even in bad situations, there are miraculous things that happen that people get saved somehow. So like you said, it is, nobody knows for sure. Nobody can be 100%, unless you're omniscient, unless you're Trikalyadmi, maybe someone like Prabhupada who knows the past, present, and future can tell. But most of us, of course, we don't know. We're at the help, at the mercy of, whatever is happening around us.
Yeah.
Like you said, we can protect ourselves. We can just chant, and we can also pray for the benefit of the world. Other than that, we can do our contribution.
Yeah, in other way also, we don't know how many times Krishna protected us in this Corona. We don't know. So we don't know that the other thing also, because normally we see in lot of times, like, in driving also, we do some mistakes, but Krishna protected. So we feel like that, he's there with us, like, reciprocating, but we don't have that kind of purification to see his presence. So we don't know, as this is Corona situation is very sensitive, but he might have protected for, like, whoever are there safely. So Krishna might have protected them too, but we don't know that one. So to realize that purification is not there in us. But only one thing is, when we perform the yajna, Krishna is reciprocation is there. That's what, like, full conviction we can do.
You gave me another way of thinking about chanting. I never thought of it as yajna, that your tongue is a ladle and your ears are the the yajna pit, and your consciousness and your bhava when you're chanting, that is like the ghee. That's a nice analogy, nice description of the whole chanting process. And one more thing that you had posted, like each mantra is like a flower, thinking of like a jasmine at Radharani's feet, a tulsi leaf as Krishna's feet. If you think like that, sometimes, your chanting becomes more interesting and more feeling. Occasionally I do that, whenever I remember. So thank you for another nice description to think of while chanting.
Yeah, all glories to Sachinandan Maharaj, Mataji. Maharaj gives this one as a meditation.
Vallapi Gopi, after about 4 jasmine flowers, it goes to the problem of the day somehow,
Yes, Mataji. So that's where it happens. Like, that is also, it's there. But thing is, we need to pull back. So it's kind of like, definitely the mind plays the triggers. Like whatever meditation we take, hardly we stay for few mantras maximum. After that, when it goes back. So if you have like few, different meditations, like, not only the flower offering or keeping the darshan in front of you, or keeping Mahamantra text in front of you. Normally, I meditate on the temple card, Mataji. I can say frankly, the temple card, whichever temple card is there, right? So there is a text like backside Hare Krishna Mahamantra is there. So which is very handy. We can keep anywhere and wherever we chant. So that card I keep in front of, like, so then just like, without any thinking, without any connect, this one, just see the text and chant. So that may help sometime. So gathering or meditating or hearing some kind of meditation support the chanting, it helps the Mataji. No, sticking to one meditation, it may definitely again mind pulls us. So go for some other different meditations, like taking the darshan of the Lord, or if you have a big picture in the home, sitting in front of that one, or sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada. So all rounds one meditation. It's maybe it may go for the practice devotees or one point attention devotees, but if it is distracting, then keep moving the meditation, the chanting number of rounds or sometime. So changing the meditations, it helps, Mataji.
Yeah, and also thinking of different flowers. Sometimes I do that instead of just the jasmines, thinking it's like champak flower or this flower or that flower. You keep on thinking different flowers till you run out of flowers, with fragrance, like rose, and then afterwards you come back to some, like you said, yeah, we are not at that, at least I'm not at that level. I should not speak for other people, I'm completely distracted. I'm completely, I just finish my rounds, but it's not always in the morning because of my life schedule. A lot of times it's at night or evening or whatever time I get. But like you said, these little things help, whenever you get really stuck somewhere, these little analogies, these little descriptions, we can train our mind, so it
Yes.
gives us something to think about. So this analogy of this yajna pit, is helping me a little bit, and I like that. So I'm sure it'll help me in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. You can change the places, or you can chant in front of some specific favorite darshan, or keep changing whatever. If it is working so good for more rounds, then increase that place or that posture to chant more. That helps, Mataji. But I don't have like much any practice realizations, just whatever I heard I'm sharing. So with all of your blessings, one day we'll all chant in such a way that how the scripture says chanting is like helpless, like completely dependence. All these things comes in our heart with mercy of devotees. So
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So to this point, I was also thinking, like, say morning, let's say we do japa for 2 hours, and then whatever remaining day, for some reason, if we are not, we are more engaged into, say, material life. But if we can shorten, I mean, if we can change that proportion slowly and gradually, that even during the remaining 20, whatever, 16 hours or 15 hours, if we can try to keep our mind back to more Krishna consciousness activity, probably that will keep us ready for the next day morning japa with more attention. But now, at least in my case, what I see, even after performing japa in the morning, but during the day, mind is all over the place. So that effect of the chanting get diluted immediately, and then the next day again the same cycle repeats. So mind is wandering during, like, even during the japa. So I was like thinking, maybe even during the day itself, maybe there should be some effort from our side, and how do we again bring mind slowly and gradually to even more and more other Krishna conscious, may not be japa, but maybe book reading, as you said, devotee association, or maybe temple activities, so and so. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, bringing that point. Like what I heard from that related to that one is morning japa. So it says that one, the night with which mood we go to the bed, that helps to the morning japa. So if we are chanting, that's why Prabhupada recommends to read Krishna book while going to the bed. So if we go to the bed with all Krishna consciousness things or reading from the scripture, so in that mood, when we wake up in the morning, that helps. And the throughout the day keeping Krishna consciousness is, so I saw the devotees they read in the mid of the day, or whenever they get breaks in their works, they read Srimad Bhagavatam, or they read Prabhupada books, or they do the book distribution, or whatever is some related to Krishna. If we do that one, so it brings it helps throughout the day, keeping connect to the Krishna consciousness. I saw the devotees do, but I have never done, but I'm telling, like, I'm sharing whatever I heard. So going before going to the bed, reading Krishna book or some whatever Prabhupada books, it helps for the morning chanting. It means that we are creating the environment to the mind. So morning I need to get up and chant, and now I'm going with this consciousness or reading some pastime or chapter in a Krishna book that helps for the morning chanting. That's what
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I think it's 8:10. If no one has any comments, we'll stop here. It's 10 minutes more today. We'll offer prayers to the assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Sindhu
kripa
Devi
sindhubhyo pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Yo
namo
namo
namo.
namaha.
Ananta
Koti
Koti
Vaishnavrinda
Vaishnavrinda
ki
ki jai,
jai.
Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai,
jai.
Vallabhi Gopi Mataji ki
Mataji
jai.
ki
All
jai.
glories to Srila Prabhupada.